Welcome back, comic book fans. It's Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and today I've got a very special episode for you. I'm going to do my very first tutorial video and show you how I clean and press comics to get ready to go to CGC. And for my test subject, I've got a beautiful copy of Watchmen #1 that I recently picked up at a local comic book con. Now, this is a great copy. I don't think it'll hit that 9.8. It's got a few little defects, but I think it's going to be a really nice copy. I hope it'll still grade out high. But the intent is to send it into CGC for their signing with Dave Gibbons. And I'm pretty excited about this because while I already own a couple of signed Watchmen #1s from Dave Gibbons, they were through CBCS. This is the first signing that I've seen him do with Dave Gibbons directly with CGC. So I'm excited about that. So what I'm going to show you today is how I prepped that book, how I cleaned it, how I put it into the press, talked about some of the specifics of what the temperatures I use, the techniques that I use, and we're going to wrap it up after that. And I hope you get something out of it today. I will say as my disclaimer that these are my steps I have learned over the last couple of years by watching and reading from various sources, and I've kind of adapted the way I do things to my books. And I'm not telling you guys to do things exactly like this, but maybe you can learn something from it. I'm sure I'm going to open myself up to a ton of criticism for everything, but I've had great success over the last 2 years in doing the same thing to countless other books that I did to this Watchmen #1. So I've already shot the video, I've already done the clean and press, I put it all together, and what I'm going to do is let you guys sit back, watch this video. It is going to be a little bit long because I take you through every second of the process up to the point where I get the book out of the cold press. And it's going to take a while. I hope you get something out of it. I mean, I had fun doing it, and it was a learning experience for me to be able to do a tutorial video like that. I realized it'd be really nice to have a camera person nearby because I'm doing some of this stuff one-handed, and that was very awkward, especially trying to get the book into the press. But I hope you get something out of it, and I look forward to your comments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you guys watch the video, and I'll come back and I'll do a wrap up at the end and talk about probably the part about getting it into CGC. So sit back, enjoy, and I will be right back. All right, guys, so we are going to do a nice clean and press on this very nice copy of The Watchmen. I picked this up at a local comic book con, and it's got some defects on the back. The front is pretty good, although this little edge, this corner right there, I may try to see what's going on right there. But we'll just take a tack iron down here very gently. Well, you're not going to do a lot of work to the front of the book. But one of the things before I get started that I like to do with the Watchmen books, and it's one of the few times that I actually will use the gloves, is with this book. And it's because the back has this, throughout the run, it has a black and then mostly red background that seems like it picks up the oils on the fingers really good. It picks up fingerprints tremendously. And this is the one time that I really like to use the gloves. I'm not a fan of this. I like to be able to feel the book while I'm working on it. So, but we are going to put gloves on for today. And we're going to take this book out of the bag and board here. Turn it over. And it's in really nice shape. There is just a minor amount of color rub right there, and just a tiny bit right there. The corners are a little blunted, but not too bad. It's a really nice copy. The biggest defect that I see really is there's two indents right here and right there, these two spots. And I don't know if the light is going to pick that up. Yeah, I think you can see maybe a little bit of that as I turn the light around. Well, maybe not. So what we're going to do is we're going to prep this right here, and then we're going to get the tack iron And we're going to just give the spine a nice, just to try to touch that up just a little bit, smooth it out. And then we're going to put it in the press. I don't know if I'm going to take any moisture to this. I may take the roller ball and see if we can smooth this out and this one out just a little bit more. But this is a really nice copy. So the first thing we do when we do a clean and press, well, when we get these books prepared to put into the press, the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to take a magazine backer board, and preferably you get one that's brand new. A lot of people say don't reuse these. I just say you need to be a little bit careful if you happen to do that. So we're going to take the book. We're going to just, let's find the centerfold. Yep, there we go. You can see the staples there, and we put this is a magazine backer board. So we just put that in there and just let it come up to the staples and stop. You don't have to press any harder. This gives the staples a little bit of room when it's pressed, so they don't press through the rest of the paper. It gives them just a little bit of room there, so it won't do that. And then the next thing we're going to do is use 2 more boards, 2 more magazine boards that I've prepped. And what I've done is on the edge here, I have taken a sand block and actually sanded the edge off of it here, so it is a little bit of a soft edge. Now this is really redneck engineering. You can go to Immaculate Comics and you can buy these boards already pre-done. They're called chamfered boards, and his are precision cut. Mine, like I'm cheap, so I made my own, and I found that these are actually work really well, and the edge is actually kind of smooth. It doesn't have any kind of hard edge to it at all. Especially after using these multiple times, it smooths it out. So when you put this, let's get, actually hang on, that's the press heating up right there. So let's open up just slightly to the inside cover there, and we're going to tuck that in a little bit. And what's nice about this being chamfered, it mimics the roundness of the spine right there. So when you take a tack iron to this, it doesn't create any kind of hard line. And you just push that in until it stops. Don't overpress. And then while I'm doing this, I'm also taking a look at the cover to see if there's any dirt or spots that might need to be cleaned. There's a little spot right there. I think what we'll do is maybe we'll take a cotton round and let's just give it a slight buff. It's a little bit dirtier. Should always use a new one. I'm kind of lazy sometimes, but I'm just giving this a slight rub, just a wipe down. This is a dry, clean, and I'm not seeing anything. Taking a little time just to do this right here, it gives me an opportunity to take a look at the rest of the cover. There's a little bit of a little indent, finger bend or something right there on the E and Watchmen. So before I put it into the press, I'm going to take the roller ball to that spot as well, just very lightly. Now we'll take a piece of parchment paper and put over that before we do that. But let's do the back cover as well. And I've got another of these chamfered boards. As I said, the edge right there has been sanded on one side, so it's a nice smooth side, and you just tuck that in. You see I've got marks on these boards so I know which side to handle, and I always use the glossy side on the side next to the glossy cover. And it does the same thing. It creates this sandwich right here. And it's the same idea. We'll go down this spine as well. And there's a little crease right there. Got an indent there and an indent here, like I told you before. But let's go back to the back cover. And this is the one spot that concerns me a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this down, and we're going to get a piece of parchment paper that I have ready here. I'm not going to put any moisture to this. I'm going to be very delicate with this right here. And I'm going to put that right over that spot, and I'm just going to let the weight of the ball press down. I'm not pressing down myself. I'm holding it in place. And I'm just kind of going over that spot a little bit. And you can see, well, I can see that the indent's coming out a little bit there. Be a little bit more precise about where I'm working right there. Yeah, it's not bad. It's working its way out. Now the next option would be to add some moisture to this. I do have a little steamer. It's a portable steamer right here that I keep right here at the table, and you should make sure that you use mineral water, so you don't use regular tap water. It's got too many substances in it that could get onto the paper. So I just use regular mineral water, and I will sometimes steam these covers. Sometimes when I'll do it to do just this, to get some of the creases out. It helps with that. It also helps when getting maybe some slight soil on or dirt on the cover as well. You got to be very careful with this. You got to know what kind of paper you're working with. You could damage books very quickly this way. I've had good success using direct moisture, and that's how I do a lot of my work. The older the book gets, when I do some Silver Age stuff, I don't put any direct moisture on it at all. I will use a moisture chamber and let it absorb the moisture, still using mineral water. Well, that's looking pretty good. And there goes my press again. It's ready to go. It keeps telling me it's ready to go, so hang on. So it's not coming out quite as much as I want, but let's just go ahead and go to the back and see how that does on here. Like I said, I've got a spot there, and a little spot right there. But we're going to take our, let's get a fresh cotton round, and these you can get at any kind of department store or drugstore, just in the makeup aisle. And I'm just going to do a easy soft wipe of the cover here. There's no real dirt here, but I'm just trying to get rid of anything that might be on the surface. Pretty clean. But again, this gives me a chance to change angles with the light, and I can go over everything and see if I'm missing anything. When I bought the book, I could see these two indents, but I did not see this one here. Not too concerned with it, but I'd like to be able to try to get that out. Let me see if I can get that positioned. Yeah, so without me moving the book, it's going to be hard to see, but I'm just going to put the ball right there in the parchment paper, and we're going to work on that spot just real lightly, just the slightest bit of pressure to the ball. And give it a little bit more, just a little bit more pressure, but I'm going to concentrate on that spot a lot. And it's actually doing a decent job. I don't think I'm going to get it out completely. And then when you put it in the press, any of this, what you're doing right here, will basically come out. I'm not too concerned with the pressure I'm putting on the paper right there. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Now I do keep a artist brush, craftsman's brush nearby. If I see any loose debris. And this is not the cleanest environment. I mean, just try to keep this as clean as possible, but life happens sometimes. So let's move this down. I want to work on this, that indent right there. Just going to give it some pressure right there. And if we can work it out, I'd like to get those out of there completely. But I don't want to rush the process and cause damage to the book. And as I said before, you can cause damage really quick in a situation like this. I'm just doing a circular motion, basically over top of that one indent. An indent's about an inch long. I think it's probably one of those printer grippers or something. There's something that happened, because I've seen this on multiple Watchmen books before. And these dark covers really, it will show up very quickly. So let's see how we're doing there. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not coming out completely. I kind of didn't expect it to. I just want to minimize it. And again, I may take some moisture to this. Sorry if this is a little boring. This is very different than most of my other videos. I haven't done a real tutorial video on any of the cleaning and pressing I've ever done before. And although I have slowed down cleaning and pressing any of the books because I've not sent in too much to CGC, I still want to be really careful on this. A little spot right there. I think it's a little bit of rub. Actually, this one's looking really good. I may just put this into the press, give it a quick press, and I think I want to do it. I'm going to set the press at 165 degrees. I'm going to put it in there for 5 minutes. I'm going to let it sit for 2 hours in the press. I'll pull it out and do a quick inspection of it. And if I'm satisfied with it, I'll put it under, I've got some, actually used tiles. These, I think they're 11 by 14. I'm not really sure what the size is. They're oversized tiles that have a very smooth surface. And what I use those actually as a cold press. So then I'll put the comic, once I'm satisfied with it and I don't need to keep it in the press any longer, I will put it into the cold press overnight, 12, 14 hours, maybe even sometimes 24 hours, depending. So it's looking pretty good. It's not coming out quite as much as I would like. I think I'm going to chance it to try to put some moisture on here. So I don't have the camera set up so I can show you all of that at one time. Maybe we'll cover all these little different aspects at a different point. But I'm going to go off camera right now, and I'm going to add some moisture to this, and I'll come back and we'll pick up the process. So actually, I think I'll just keep the camera rolling. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of parchment paper in there too, because moisture is going to come off. I don't want to get it onto the chamfered board that much, so I'm going to put this piece of parchment in there. I will throw this away, but kind of helps keep the cover separated from everything else. There's a fingerprint right there that I didn't see earlier. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to rub that down to get that off of there. As I said, the oils in your finger on these books right here will pick up very quickly. And I'm going to have to be very careful with this. This is why I use the gloves on this book. All right, as you can hear, I've got some moisture going there in the background. And what we're going to do is we're literally going to let this pass in front of that and add very little moisture to it. But I've got a cloth, one of those soft car type cloths, microfiber cloths that we will take in a second, and we will slowly clean off the moisture. But what we're trying to do is get some moisture into these spots especially. So then I'll take the roller ball back, and this should come out a little bit better. But the danger here is getting moisture in this back and then causing streaks and things like that. So I just want to be prepared as I get ready to do this here. So clean up the area just a little bit more. All right. So again, this is going to be off camera, so a little bit of boring here, but I'm going to slowly and you don't hold it in one spot either. You let it pass. Just move it through the path of the moisture. Sorry, boring off camera stuff, but it puts a little bit of moisture on there. And we will clean this up, and then we will go back to the roller ball. And you got to be careful with this. You want to make sure that you clean it up good. You don't want to tear the paper, but this is how I'm doing this here. Make sure we're not putting any streaks in there. Actually, came out pretty good. But we're going to immediately take another piece of parchment paper right there, and we're going to go right to those spots. And let's see if we can work on those real quick and see if this moisture helped at all. A little bit. We're going to put a little pressure on that. I'm just going on small circular circles over top of where that one indent is. And it's still there a little bit. I may go back and put a little bit more moisture on it. And once this kind of pressing on this may be a little aggressive, but once you put this back into the press, you usually won't see any of this right here. It does put some pressure in those spots. And it's actually coming out pretty good right there. Again, I'm going to go back into the circular spots right there. These steel balls actually work, ball bearings really work really well with this. It's still there, but it's minimized. Probably will do moisture one more time just to see how it does. And let's see if we can do this spot over here as well. And my cat Lucky came in and he wants some attention. I thought I had the door closed, but maybe he's criticizing me on how I'm doing right here. Let's set this to the side and take a look at it. Now this one's actually in really good shape. And both of these have come out. It's going to be hard for you guys to see this unless you catch it with the light. But I'm going to go back one more time and add a little bit more moisture to it. Let's do it again. And make sure we wipe it off really good. And once we're done, we will, besides actually wiping it off and doing everything, we will actually take the cotton rounds and we will do a clean to make sure there's no water streaks left on the paper. So I'm going to spend a little time when I'm putting this in front of the steamer. I'm concentrating on those spots. What I'm trying to do is get the paper in those spots just to have a little bit more moisture. So when you put the pressure with the ball bearing, you will end up being able to work the paper a little bit more, and hopefully that's how you get the indents out. Okay, let's come back and repeat that process. We've got our microfiber cloth. I'm going to wipe in one direction, then I'm going to change it so it's on a dry side here. And I'm moving around a little bit myself just so I can see if there's any streaking. Now the paper's got moisture in it there. You can see it buckling a little bit, but the press will take all that out. That spot's looking really good. Let's get right back in there on these two indents, and we're going to do it again. Same process here and right there. Yeah, it's actually looking really good. Give me a second here and I'll lift up the book and you guys will maybe see that these indents are basically almost out. Work this little one. This one. I'm pretty satisfied. They're still there a little bit. I'm not too worried about it as much. I think it's going to be okay. I don't want to keep repeating this process too many times. You do risk the damage. Every time you do something like this, you really risk some damage. Oh, that came out really nice. All right, let's set the ball bearing down on the side here. And yeah, take a look here. I'm taking a look and I can barely even see those spots right now on any of those areas. Yeah, that's very nice. Very nice. Let's give that a break for a second and take a look at that one spot I found over here before. It's really hard. It is right there where my thumb is, right there. So we're going to put a little bit of moisture on the front as well. And I may do this, I'm probably going to do moisture one more time, and mostly on the spine, as I'm going to use the tack iron to kind of just make sure the spines are okay. There's no little creases or anything that shows up. But on this one, I'm not putting moisture over the whole book. I'm really concentrating on that, just that one spot right now. And I am always very careful when I put the book back down, because I made the mistake of laying a book down one time after adding some moisture to it like that. And I pressed down, I started working on the cover, and I realized that the back cover had gotten folded underneath, and I put a massive dog ear on that book. Wasn't the highest grade. Well, it wasn't the biggest Spider-Man book, but you don't want to do that. That was awful. A book had some value at a 9.8, but you had to have a 9.8. And after doing that, I just put it back in the PC and kind of forgot about it. It was a real disappointment. So when I lay these books back down, I try to be real careful not to fold under that cover. All right, I am changing my angle and trying to find that spot, and just this little bit of rollerball seems like it has taken out that spot, that little crease. Let's change it back. Yeah, that's fine. It looks really good. All right, so what I'm going to do now, let's look at the back one more time. I'm at a spot where I want to work on the spine a little bit. We can take out this one. Well, no, I'm going to put a little bit of moisture on the edges there. But what I'm going to do is we're going to run the moisture down the spines right here on both sides. We'll do it twice. We'll do one on the front, one on the back. And then I will come back and I will use the tack iron and I will show you just how we work any spine ticks out. Now, this doesn't have any spine ticks, but there are some micro little tiny creases. Like there's a minor one right there, and that should come out with a tack iron. So this time I'm going to cut away and I will be right back. All right, guys, so I've given my tack iron a little bit of time to warm up, and I'm taking the parchment paper out of here, even though I'm going to add some moisture again to this cover, but we're going to concentrate right here on the spine, and then we're going to make sure we wipe it down again as well. But we wipe it down, then we put the parchment paper over this, and we will give this a light tack iron treatment. We're not trying to do much. There's some micro little creases right there, and not color break. Well, they're very minor. and we're going to do the front as well, but we're going to add a little bit of moisture to this. Actually, I don't think we're going to add moisture to it. We're going to go directly into taking a piece of parchment paper right here. Make sure it's all in place, and I'm taking the tack iron. Now, this is not my favorite tack iron. The one I had previously I loved. It was an old Hanger 9, and I'd love to replace it, but I can't. They don't seem to be making those anymore. I think I found some in China that look like them, but they're not from the same company. They're knockoffs, but I may get one of those because I like the ironing head. This one I got is a replacement, and it's very flat like a real iron, and I'm not a big fan of it. All right, hang on. There goes the press again. All right, let's just get in here, and what we're going to do is just let the weight of the iron press down right there, and I'm just going up and down the spine here. The only real tick was right in this area right here, so we're going to concentrate just a little bit longer on that. And I'll probably get a lot of criticism for some of the things that I'm doing here, but what I find is that you got to do these things for yourselves, guys. There's no easy answers. Experience is the best teacher. You've got to know what your tolerances are on certain things. How far do you want to take things? How much are you willing to risk damaging a book or not damaging? What can you get away with? Basically, you got to know your limits. And I'm being really, really careful right now because that spine, it looks really good. It doesn't need a lot of work. I'm just going to go over it just one final time. And this is just a dry. It's dry. I'm not using any moisture on this one. I don't think I need to put any moisture in the paper for this one. So, all right. Let's turn it over and do the same thing on the other side. Spine's really nice. Bit of a odd little crease right there. I'll take the roller ball to that right there in the T too. Taking your time is allowing me to look at the book in a new light, so to speak. So let's get in here and we'll do the same thing. The front's better than the back. At least the color hides it a little bit. But with that chamfered board inside the front cover there, as I said, I beveled that edge myself using a sanding block, and you use it a few times, and what happens is it basically smooths out. There is no hard edge on it, and which is really nice because it matches the curvature of the spine when it's on the book like this here. And I'm just putting a little bit of pressure. I'm not pressing hard. There's no big spine ticks to get out, and you can see you can go through parchment paper really quick. And let's just take a quick look. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, there's a couple micro spots right there. I'm just going to jump in real quick right there on the T, and we're just going to, without putting moisture, let's see if the ball will help that spot just a little bit. Small circular motions. Sorry, I'm slurring my words here. It's looking pretty good. Okay. It's in pretty good shape. So take the book off of here, and again, I don't have the camera set up, multiple cameras to show you what I'm doing here, but let me take away, I use these these are color copier tabloid sheets right here. They're very white and they're very clean over top of this cutting board. This cutting board has been with me since college and has seen a lot of life, and I don't like to use it too much, but what we're going to do here, just so you can see it a little bit better, and put down a piece of big parchment paper. So what I'm going to do is the way I've got this set up is I'm going to take 2 magazine boards, and I'm going to put a piece of parchment paper right there on it, right there. We're just going to line it up. Now, usually I have this setting at the table behind me, but I'm doing this for you guys' benefit so you can see what I'm doing. And we're going to take our board here, our comic sandwich, so to speak. Again, we're going to make sure our chamfer boards and the inside front cover and the inside back cover are both tucked in, and that our centerfold board is touching the staples, and we're just going to put it down here on the magazine size boards with the piece of parchment paper right there. So now it's ready to go. So normally what I'll do right now is I'll take it to the press, I'll lay this down, and I'll repeat the process. I will take another piece of parchment paper, and I will take 2 more magazine size boards, and with the glossy side towards the parchment here. And what we're going to do is create a giant sandwich now. And it goes right over that. And now this will get transferred to the press. And again, I apologize. I may take some shots of the press a little bit, but I don't have the setup to be able to open the press and do all this at the same time. So you'll have to pardon the lack of the complete tutorial today on this. So stay tuned, and I will transfer this over to the press, and then I will probably do some shots so you guys can see the press and when I put it in there. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, this is my oldest press. I've had this for the last couple years. This is the one I learned on, a Tussie, and I'm going to open it up right here. And of course, it's going to be beeping because it's ready to go. And as you can see, I've got 2. Sorry about that. I've got 2 plates in there, aluminum. I can't say the word. And we're going to take both of them. We're going to take one of them out and set it on the side. And then we're going to transfer the sandwich that we just made to this spot right here. So hang on. Sorry, you just got to see a little bit of my messy shop right here. And here we come back over. And I laid that down, but I'll tell you what, things got shifted because I'm doing it with one hand. So I'm going to take that off, and we're just going to make sure everything's centered right there. Like I said, this is the way I would normally do it. Normally I don't make the whole sandwich and then just put it in there because things shift a little bit. And if you notice, this is a pretty big press. It's a 15 by 15. I can actually do 2 comics in there at the same time. So now I'm just going to lay this over top. And then we're going to take the other metal plate, let it sit down on top. And then we're going to come down, and we're going to be very gentle about this. Comics are all, the thickness of a comic can change a little bit between comics. So I use feel and touch when I close this right here to make sure that it's not over pressing. Now it's actually a pretty nice press. It's when I say press, I'm talking about the verb press right now. It has come down on the book pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now my setting right here, let me show you the setting. It's counting down from 300 seconds. That's 5 minutes. And I've got it set for 165. So that's a general press that I use. I find that works well with a lot of different books. You guys can check out Captain Dave and or is it Captain Mike? It's Captain Mike, right? Who's Captain Dave? You can check out all the different sources, and everybody will tell you different things. Again, you got to be comfortable with the way you do things. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera right now and let this finish out, and then we will come back after it sits in here for 2 hours, and we'll see what our results are, and to see if we have to repeat the process. Now, the one thing I will say is one of the reasons I use 2 metal plates is so I don't have to press it on the top and then turn it over and press it on the bottom. using two metal plates generally gives you a good press on both sides. That's been my experience on that. So I'm going to sign out for right now, and then I will be back in just a little bit.
2 hours later.
All right, so we've let the comic cool down in the press for about 2 hours now. And what we're going to do is we're going to open it up and inspect it and then get it into a regular cool press that I have set up over to the side right here. So first off, let's take off the metal plate. I'm sorry, I'm doing all of this one-handed. This is not natural right here. And let's take off the top two boards and the parchment paper. We'll put that on the side. And we've got the comic right there. It looks really good so far, but we got to take a closer look at it. Yeah, looking good. So let's take it over back to the board right here and give it a closer inspection. So stay tuned. I'm going to put the camera in a stationary position again, and then we'll be right back. All right, guys, let's carefully take the book up here and just take a close look. Let's get rid of the backing boards and the parchment paper from below, and let's take a look. We still have our sandwich here, but we're just going to take a close look at all those little problem spots. And you can still see just a little trace of where those indents were right there. Again, I have seen that on multiple Watchmen books in the past, but they came out really good. And that little crease that was over here as well came out really good. This is very flat. And you can see that the rippling that we had on the paper right here because of the moisture that we added has all gone away. That the press takes that away. And this is in really good shape. It's got some minor, very minor defects. It'll be interesting to see what CGC is going to grade this book. And that is sort of the intention, is to send this into CGC, actually to the Dave Gibbons signing. And we'll see what they end up doing with that. It'll be good to get this done by CGC. I had done a Dave Gibbons signing a year ago or so with CBCS, and where he did a remark on one of the two copies of Watchmen #1 that I did. Now, I'm not doing a remark on this one, but I'll be curious to see what this one ends up grading out to be. But let's go ahead and take out the chamfer boards and the interior. And I'm just holding the book. Again, I still have my gloves on. These books seem to pick up the oils from the hand very quickly. But generally, this is in really nice shape. This little blunted corner is probably going to ding me in both of those. I hope this doesn't get knocked down too much. My feeling is it's probably going to end up being a 9.4, but with a Dave Gibbons autograph on here, that will still have some decent value on this. So what we're going to do right now is we're actually going to put it back into the Mylar bag and board. Let's put that back on there. Let's be careful, let's not cause any damage here. And I'm not really concerned about taping it right now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this now and I'm going to put it between I've actually got two granite slabs over here to the side. I have mentioned earlier that I've got tiles that I use, porcelain tiles, but I also have two granite cutting boards that actually, it's my favorite cold press item I've got. It's got some weight to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to the side and I'm going to place it on one of the granite slabs, and then I want to take the other slab and I want to put it right on top. So I'm going to have to take the camera down again to show you that part. Hopefully I can film that pretty good. So stay tuned and I'll be right back again. Okay, so I've taken the camera down. Let's take the comic over here, and as you can see, I've got, it's like a 9x12 granite cutting board, and we're just literally going to lay it here on the slab. And I've got another one here, and what we're going to do is actually I'm making a mess here. It's so hard to do one-handed. I really need to have a camera person, but I'm going to turn it over. And that's so if I make a mistake here and I drop the other slab on it, we don't cause any major problems. But we're literally going to just let the weight of this sink down and give this a nice cold press. And what we're going to do is we're going to leave this overnight, and in the morning we'll do another double check. But this book right now is essentially ready to go to CGC. I just want to make sure that it stays nice and flat, and part of the reason you put it into a cold press like this for an extended period is to keep any reversions coming back, any of the things that you tried to fix from coming back. And this book was in really good shape, so there shouldn't be too much danger of that anyway. But I like the flatness that this gives. You can also see the tiles that I use, the bigger tiles, and what I do with those is literally you can see I can put the book in there, and I can actually stack these a little bit, and I get some really nice flat books that way. So I can do multiple books at one time over here. So it's a little bit of a crude setup, but it works well with me. Nobody else is in here besides me. So that is it for this right here. We're going to wait 24 hours, or, well, actually, we're not going to wait 24 hours. We'll probably wait about 12 to 14 hours, and this has got to go out to CGC pretty soon so they can get in for the date given signing. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial video.
The next morning.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed all the tutorial video that I just shot. It was a lot of fun doing that, and I was being extra cautious as I was doing things because part of the camera apparatus that I was using was literally in the way while I was doing things, and it was very awkward to hold the camera, or rather the phone that I was using to film everything, in one hand while I'm trying to do certain things. I will learn from that in the future, and hopefully we'll make better tutorial videos. But I hope you got a lot out of that. Definitely leave me a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about what I did. If you don't think I'm doing something right, that's fine too. But I will tell you this, again, as my disclaimer, is these are the steps that work for me. And you've got to be comfortable doing your own cleaning and pressing on your own books. And you've got to know what your tolerances are. I put moisture on that book. And that is the one thing that I didn't show because I had the camera in a fixed location and I couldn't change it easily without disrupting everything, to show you how I applied the moisture to the book. So that is one part of the tutorial that is definitely missing. But if you guys want me to do that, I'll try to do that on a separate video. Maybe I'll add that just to a different book just to show you what I do. But I also realized that the other part of the video that you didn't get was the book coming out of the cold press. Well, what happened was, when I bought that book, I came home and I immediately did the clean and press, and it was all I could do to remember to actually film everything. But once I got into the cold press and I let it sit overnight for at least 12 to 14 hours, what you didn't see me do the next morning was get that book out, do a visual inspection of it, and you guys didn't see just how beautiful that book looked as flat as it was. It was really nice. Those granite slabs that I use, they're just cutting boards. They're not super heavy, but they've got a little bit of weight to them, and I really like them. It makes those books really flat. It prevents the reversion of certain spine ticks and creases and things like that. Now, this book was in really good shape, and I didn't think it would have that big of a problem reverting, but I do this the same way with just about every book. And so you didn't get that part of the video either. So there's two parts that I really didn't show you. I will try to do better in the future on future videos. Maybe we'll do another one at a later date. And guys, if you like this kind of content, definitely hit that like, slap the subscribe, and click on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my episodes that I put out each and every week, Mondays and Fridays at 10 a.m. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Look forward to the comments, and I'm out of here. I'll see you for the next show. And guys, just remember, every comic has a story.